Hi, my name is Shark Punch. I work in film, television, and I produce digital content for the internet. For the last 15 years, I have been on this amazing journey in digital entertainment. From getting discovered by Michael Bay to working on the TV show Shameless as a dolly grip, and this show is about that continued journey. Every episode, I will share with you my thoughts on things that I love: gaming, technology, entertainment, and whatever other nonsense I can come up with. A steel phoenix rises from the ashes, stronger from the flames that forged it. I did it, so can you, and the journey starts right now. We're going to do 4 big topics every show: gaming, technology, entertainment, nonsense. This was born out of when G4 Tech TV ended. I decided to create G.T.E.N. It was G.T.E.N Plus for a while. It's been a bunch of different things, and it just landed on G.T.E.N because that's the acronym makes the most sense, and it's a tribute to G4 Tech TV, or G4 TV, which I loved back in the day. And to get to the point to create a network of my own that's similar, I have to start somewhere, and that's in part what the live stream is about. It's what this is about. There's just a world there that I think I can contribute to. And it's something I want to see myself. I would be entertained by this. And since I work in the entertainment industry, why am I not doing this? It's not like it's something where I don't have a lot to say or I can't talk. It's just been time, opportunity, which during COVID now is no more excuses. And then technology. And so I got a big producing job, and I took part of my paycheck from the producing job, and I bought all this equipment. So that's where we're at. And it's the live stream is going good. And I live stream on Twitch. It's Shark Punch 007. It's not as regular as I'd have liked it to be. And the advantage, I think, of a podcast is that the podcast can always come out because I can do multiple sessions at one time. And then the live stream can be an accent to that. And both things can complement each other in terms of content. I have probably 3 blogs that nobody reads. Literally, I've had one blog for like 10 years. No one reads it. So I know that there's a marketing component that I need to do. I know that there's an exposure component I need to do. And I haven't really, these blogs have been kind of like a chronicle of my journey in life for, I don't know, as far back as I started doing them. And that's, somebody actually said on my show the other day on the live stream show on Twitch, somebody said, wow, that's an amazing blog. And I was like, okay. And then I went and looked at the blog, and no comments, no nothing, the metrics basically told me one person looked at it. So I don't know. I didn't dive deep into the metrics. I just saw that, okay, it got a hit. So hopefully people are reading it now, because it's all over my socials on the live stream. But this show, I don't know what the average runtime is going to go. I'm shooting for an hour because it's solo. I did the Steel Phoenix podcast I've done 6 episodes with a buddy of mine who has moved on to his own show. I did another episode that I was going to break up into 4 or 5 episodes with another buddy of mine. Incidentally, they're both named Zach. And the second Zach, we did 7 hours, but the recording got all fucked up. You couldn't hear anything. And it's one of the problems I have with what I'm doing right now is I have no way to tell if there's no way for me to tell if this is working. I can't tell if the audio is working or not. It's just giving me visual options. So we'll see. Um, this is part of the built-in software in this computer, and it's not. I tried recording it through Streamlabs, but there's just gonna have to bear with me. There's gonna be a crazy learning curve on all of this, but I'm gonna keep doing it. I'm gonna keep doing it until it stops working, or I have to do something else. I don't know. It seems like it's a real waste to not do this during COVID, because I have all this time, and it's important, I think, to take the time when you have the time to do the things that you're supposed to do. I know that sounds a little redundant, but I do believe this. The first thing we're going to get into is gaming, and that's Cyberpunk 2077. I know everybody's talking about this. This is a thing. I bought it the day after it released, I think, and I don't hate it, but it is not fun. It's the learning curve on the game is there's so many things you can do that have nothing to do with playing the game. And I feel like, I downloaded EVE Online a while ago, and I've played it 3 times, and I don't want to spend 20 hours learning how to play a game, because your menu system, you have this exhaustive menu system that's menus within menus, that's options within menus, is just, it seems super, super clunky to me. Like, how are all these menus and submenus of submenus that you have to memorize? And in Eve's defense, really, it's not something that I think should be played with a keyboard and mouse. You should have a joystick and a throttle. I mean, I just don't think that it's... I got Star Wars Squadrons too, and that's also a joystick and throttle game. I've played both of them, and I'm like, oh, it's space, it's flying around, and it's not what I wanted it to be. It's not the experience I was looking for. I'm going to try... I have No Man's Sky upstairs on my PlayStation 4, and it's kind of fun. It's wandering around, and it's like, wow, this game could be really, really good. The foundation is there. The title is stupid, but the foundation is just not. And I know that there's some deep philosophy shit behind the title, and it's a bad title. I'm sorry. Calling something No Man's Sky. This sky belongs to no man. Come up with one word, and don't do that. Don't do that. Star Citizen is much better in terms of marketing. I don't know if it's a better game, but that's probably the next thing that's going to happen. Gaming in general, I tend to like open world games. I like Skyrim a lot. I like Fallout 4 a lot. I have problems with these games because there's what they could be and then what they are. Cyberpunk has got the aesthetic right. The way the game looks is flawless. It looks beautiful. The glitches are just because it's brand new. It's dropped. CD Projekt Red had, they've had issues with glitches since the first Witcher. The Witcher 3 was a masterpiece, still is. And I think Cyberpunk was forced to release too soon because people were just complaining about it so much. The investors started getting nervous, and they forced the release before the game was actually ready. And the game is probably at 90%, and they forced a bunch of crap. So now it's in the hole a bunch, and they're scrambling to fix shit. And it's just not... I read one review where somebody said the game has no heart. And to me, that's what happens when you rush the end. In film, when you rush the end, it affects the heart of the movie. When you rush the plot, it affects everything. Don't rush the plot. Those are things you can't rush. And they did it. They pushed it out, and I'm sorry, I'm also video recording this, and my light is garbage right now. Everything's completely blown out. All right. Every time I turn a light off, the camera compensates in some fucking bizarre way, and now I have to drop the brightness on the show. Ugh. See, now that's too dark. There's hard shadows all over the place. Good grief. Well, anyways. If it was a cinema camera, it would be, complicated too, but there would be options. It'll get there. Like, why can't I see the cardboard behind me? It's not that bright. There shouldn't be that much light in the fucking room coming out of a what is this, a 80-watt bulb? That's ridiculous. The sensitivity on the camera is way too fucking high. But I can't turn it up. I can't adjust it. It's just, I don't know how to adjust it, I guess I should say. Oh, that's ridiculous. Those of you listening in the audio cast, you're like, why is this guy... It's a film thing. I can't not do it. I can't not make it right. Just a little background. I've worked in film and television since 2005. Professionally since 2010. The first 5 years of my career were in Southern California, running around doing anything I could get, but having no experience, no connections, no anything, no people that were a part of my world, that were in anything other than one friend who got me in initially, and his path is very different than mine. He wants very different things, I think, out of the film industry than I do, and he just he went such a different way. There was no space for me, so I had to create my own space, and I waited and talked to him and begged and pleaded and, hey, what about this, and what about this, and what about this, and what about this? And a lot of what I got was, well, I don't have time right now. I'm not going to do that right now. My priorities are different. And, I was dumping my entire paychecks into projects and, saying I'll figure out the fucking rent later kind of thing. And that's just not the world he was in. So when I came to Chicago, what I found was a bunch of people that felt the same way I did, which was surprising to me. And ironically and fortuitously, the tax incentives kicked in that year all over the country, and a bunch of states all of a sudden had these film and entertainment industry explosions. Chicago was one of those places, and I just ran. There's a cardboard sign that sits behind me in my office here that says film students will PA for credit. It's behind my right shoulder. And it's, if you watch it on the live stream, it's sitting there behind me. And the room needs to be dialed in more. This is kind of my workspace. It's kind of a mess. I like my mess, but at the same time, I can dial this in better for the aesthetic for you guys. And the listeners in the audience, I think it's important that I respect your time by having a dialed in environment that is something that's, you all want to see. One of the things that's going to happen over time is I'm going to build the show that I want. It's just going to take a chunk. The show that I envisioned, I guess I should say. The show that I envisioned when G4 Tech went off the air. This is what I was thinking about. So yeah, Cyberpunk is a bit of a mess. Okay, I'm going to cry about Fallout for just a second. Fallout 4, and I haven't played 76, I've heard terrible things, but Fallout 4 has this great patchwork, but there's no fucking way that 200 years later, a bunch of things exist that exist. That's not how decay works, that's not how radiation works, that's not how... There's shitloads of bad science, there's bad economics, there's bad, humans in groups. Somebody should have talked to an anthropologist. Humans in survival mode are not that ineffective. They're also not that inefficient. Nobody cleans anything. Why? It's been 200 years since the nuclear war. People are alive. There's enough people, the mutants even, there's just enough sentient creatures blowing around that shit would be repaired. It would look completely different, but stuff would be fixed. It would... the Brotherhood of Steel seems like they're the only ones that have their act together. There would be 20 of those groups, and anywhere that they settled would get way better, way fast. And it wouldn't just be them. And the Minutemen, okay, they fell apart, but Diamond City is a joke. If the Minutemen were there, then while they were there, if they controlled that place, Diamond City, for any amount of time, it would look completely different, especially 200 years later. The big problem I have with the overall aesthetic of the game is that it says 200 years when everything looks like it's 2 years later. It looks like that's what everything would look like 2 years later. That's not what it would look like 200 years later. It's just not an accurate representation of where you would be after 200 years of cryosleep. You'd wake up and it would not look like that. I think they could have said 20 years and it would be believable, but not 200. The shit, there wouldn't be debris all over the place. People would have set up settlements that were not pipe pistols and wire wrappings. I mean, like, not a single engineer fucking survived. Not a single person with engineering anything survived. There are people, intelligent people, that have a basic sense of engineering that could have done more. I probably could take 100 people from where I live and we could do better with everything in that fucking game out of that 100 people. In the city I live in right now, if I just pointed in direction, grabbed 100 people, and we were put into Fallout 4, we could do a better job. It is fucking, and I mean random 100 people from where I'm sitting right now. I know myself, within that dynamic, we would get more done than 90% of the fucking universe. It just doesn't make any sense, especially not after 20 years or 200 years. Now, if you put it 20 years, it's way more believable. But still, if any amount of time has happened, people are going to make the best out of their environment. They're not just going to grab food and then live in boxes and not do anything. You know, look at the shanty towns in parts in third world countries and parts of the world that are suffering. They don't just persist. There's things that are outside factors that keep them in shitty shanty towns. And then there's generational issues that show up. But the engineering and the ingenuity that shows up is still there. People are still making things and elevating their status and thinking outside the box. Humans are fucking scrappy. They are scrappy creatures. They find a way. Somebody in a group, in group dynamics, finds a fucking way. It's not a thing where they just sit around and say, I haven't washed my fingernails. I can't remember the last time my fingernails were clean. What? Why the fuck aren't you wouldn't, the people that survived the nuclear blast would have concepts of hygiene. That next generation, for sure, if we're going to say it's 200 years, the survival generation, would remember everything. So their standards passing on to their kids, they would talk about this shit. And they would talk about things, and somebody would have survived that had some concept of how do we take care of our basics. Those people probably would have ascended to leadership positions. But anyone that survived, any group that survived, would have a lot of that in mind. Yes, people would break. People would turn into mutants. People would turn into zombies. All of that shit would happen also. But you have to explain that more. You have to have more of a backstory, and the way that whole setup is just huge amounts of horseshit. The scale I don't have a problem with. I know it's way smaller than Boston actually is. I know that the whole thing is not to scale, which is fine. I don't care about the scale. I'm not going to bitch about that because they just don't have, you know. I know it's Bethesda and they have as much money as they need, but they still don't have enough money viably to make a game that's as big as Boston. It's still a really big game. It's a huge-ass game. And that's still not life-size, so I'm not saying, oh, they have to be life-size. I get the scale. I don't have a problem with the scale. It's the time that's a huge issue, and the lack of understanding of, you know, anthropology and how humans work that seems to be a fucking issue. That if it would have been different, the game would be more fun. You know, I'm tearing apart things that I should just fix and use them in their fixed status to make other shit. Why am I tearing apart this thing that works when I can just use it how it works? And, there's other stuff like fucking hardware stores. I haven't run into a real grocery store. I haven't run into a real hardware store. There's no Home Depot. There's a bunch of stuff that doesn't exist that would exist. There's no big box stores. And when there would be lots and lots of materials all over the place, or someone is hoarding those materials. There's not enough people, beings, or things that can use tools that exist in the universe for there to be as little tool resources as there is. There should be more stuff around. And then the third thing that is just my second biggest gripe, really, is when you get to a settlement, you can only claim the resources in a certain area. That is horseshit. Those trees would be fucking gone. All the dead trees anywhere around that initial settlement that you get would be gone. I mean, like 20,000 yards in every direction. The distance someone could walk in a day, if you have any number of people together, they are going to gather all those resources. They're going to go out in little search parties, gather the resources, and come back. Every culture in the history of mankind has fucking done that, limiting these pocket settlements to their immediate area that they can... Oh, it's limited to how far they can walk in 10 seconds. Get the fuck out of here with that. Well, if you did that, there'd be no challenge in the game. Yes, there would. There would still be challenges. There's still mutants, and all the bugs can kill you, and there's no irritating bugs. Every bug has mutated into something monstrous. So, each thing would be a challenge. I also have a problem with the one follower thing. You would be going out in groups. There wouldn't be a lot of solo people. No one would go anywhere by themselves, let alone with two people. The one lady that travels around with her pistol and the giant fucking double-headed cow with all the junk, and she just goes from one town to another town, and that's it. And she has all of this shit, but you never see anybody trading with her. And she would... There's the other guy that just has the armor, and he runs around with 2 or 3 bodyguards. That's exactly how everybody would travel. Everybody would travel in large groups, because if you traveled solo, the odds are you're going to get jumped and jacked by... And if there's that many fucking raiders, there's that many bands of raiders that are taking over buildings, it's a raider... The raiders would band together, and they would run everything, and they would call themselves a government, and they would consolidate their fucking power, and the raiders would be fighting each other all the time. That doesn't... There's way too many raiders relative to the civilian population for that place to be what it is. It's just not fucking possible to have that many pockets of raiders and not have them be organized. And now, I guess this is the other thing that bugs the shit out of me. The people would not be living in fields where there's no fucking buildings and then not utilizing the crap out of every building. And they wouldn't move out of the towns. They would go into houses because a house is already a built structure, and if it survived a nuclear blast, you're just going to fucking reinforce it. You're going to go find things. There's not going to be cars laying all over the place. Did everyone forget how to weld? Okay, so let's say all of the welders don't work. Okay, they're going to get hammers and saws and figure out how to cut and take apart metal and move that shit around. There's not just going to be there's abandoned resources all over the place. They're going to break up asphalt and put that in the walls. They're going to figure out how to use concrete differently. It's just super unbelievable. Like, honestly, I think that Fallout 4 is what everything looks like after 6 months. If you put 6 months on it, that's what it fucking looks like, except that that's not enough time for the mutants to show up. It's not enough time for mutated two-headed cows to show up. The 6 month after a nuclear war looks like the wastelands in the far, the ground zero section of the I forget what they fucking call it, but right where the biggest bomb dropped. That's probably what you're looking at. And the farther you get away, look at Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The recovery time, it hasn't been 200 years, and those places were blasted back to the Stone Age. It hasn't been 200 years, and Japan in World War II literally bombed China back to the Stone Age. I mean, no fucking exaggeration. They were not living at the highest technology level, and Japan is dropping loads of fucking bombs on China. Just fucking China up. Bomb them back to, I don't know, prehistoric, bomb them back to Confucius. It's not been 200 years since that happened. We're talking 70 years, and China has 9, 10, 11 empty metropolises that are just built. Get the fuck out of here. That's not how it works. Like, I get it. You want to make a post-apocalyptic game, make the timing right. Also, make people use houses correctly. When you first run into the Minutemen, that whole setup is exactly right. And them living in that building, that's how people would be all over the fucking place. And it wouldn't be just raiders like that. It would people all over the place would be like that. You go to this one town and it's a dude and these crab creatures are running around and he's fucking up the crab creatures with this 50 caliber rifle. And you go in there and help him, and then you reset all of his turrets and shit, and then you know the town kind of opens up. That situation is likely. What's more likely is you're going to have 3 or 4 of those towns where the turrets never got down, and the not Murlocs but Murlocs killed a bunch of people. Those crab things would be fucking lunch. The people would have figured out how to hunt those things, kill them, and eat them. Those things would be driven off, and they'd be farming those things. And I'm talking especially again after 200 years. Cut it down to 6 months, and maybe some bad decisions, bad leadership, and some infighting produced that situation, but not 200 fucking years. Oh God, it's just such a bad. I love the story. I love chasing the sun and trying to, the wife. When I first started the game, I'm just breathless. Everything that happens is amazing. And the intro to that game, the start of that game was fucking on point. I like it actually better than Skyrim, which has been at my top 10 forever. At Skyrim I have some of the same problems, but Skyrim really, it's the game could have factions, it could have PvP. And they're like, oh, well, they made Elder Scrolls Online. No, they made a copy of fucking World of Warcraft that is Elder Scrolls themed. It's a themed WoW, and there's a bunch of differences technically, and I don't fucking care. What I wanted was Skyrim that includes all the other sections that I can play my character in, and I can travel everywhere as my Skyrim character, and then I want to be able to turn off and turn on interacting with other players, but in Skyrim, not some other thing. I didn't want them to make another thing. I wanted them to make Skyrim and open the world up. That's what I wanted. All these people making mods so you can, the boobs are better and all this pervert fucking internet shit. And I'm like, why didn't somebody come up with something that built all the other places? That's what I would love to see someone do with the Skyrim engine. That's really, it just seems like a missed opportunity, and Bethesda went a different direction. And a lot of the Elder Scrolls players, I don't know if any of you watch Fang Rush, but it's just the amount of disappointment and complaining and nobody cares about this game and all this other stuff. And I'm thinking, if nobody cares about that fucking game, why didn't they just expand Skyrim? Why is it taken? It was a really bad choice, I think, to make an MMORPG in the style of World of Warcraft and not simply expand the universe of Skyrim with that engine the way it was. I don't know. They could have added some things and set it up a little bit differently, and people would have gone nuts. It would have broken World of Warcraft. It would have broken the other MMORPGs, and it would be. I don't know. There seems to be a lot of mistakes in the last 10 years in digital the last 20 years in digital entertainment. There's been a lot of victories, but there's been a lot of really dumb corporate decisions, dumb top-down decisions. Stuff that's like, why are they doing that? the answer seems to present itself in another way, and there's definitely another option, and there's enough money that they probably could do both. It's just it's interesting to me that the choices that have been made. You know, Star Wars is a great example. They decided to go a different direction than following the extended universe, and I mean, they made billions of dollars on it, so you could say, oh, well, it worked. When anybody that's a Star Wars fan knows that it could have gone way, like, what they made is a fraction of what they could have made. You know, that's a really sad element of that. This is making me think of my next topic, technology. I think it behooves us, and I'm going to talk about education here a little bit, to make part of our junior high, high school, and college curriculum, not so much college because you're choosing at that point, and that should, you know, college is a whole different ball of wax, but anything that is state funded or government funded should include 2 classes: logic boards, hardware and logic boards, and coding. Now, I took coding in 9th grade. We learned basic, but we learned nothing about hardware. And it was still, you know, it's the 90s, so I'm not surprised. Our technology IQ wasn't high. We just kind of threw something at the wall and hoped it would stick. My girlfriend's daughter is 13, and she started learning Python, I think, last year. I started teaching myself Python during COVID. It's like, it's an efficient language. It seems fairly simple to use. This should be standard curriculum. You know, I don't know what class we get rid of and replace it with that, but I don't, you know, they don't teach handwriting anymore. That's not a class. These are fundamental, absolutely, you have to learn them things. Coding, and especially logic boards. That the hardware element of tech is just being neglected, and it's really stupid. It's a huge strategic mistake. It's a huge, you know, in the macro sense of the United States, that is absolutely something that needs to be taught. And people just need to know how to work with logic boards. You should know how to solder. You know, I think that auto shop is great, but I think welding is better. Wood shop is like, that's an elective in college. I don't know why they're teaching wood shop. I took wood shop, and I wish I would have taken auto shop. It just is not. Why are they teaching that? Why is that a choice? Logic boards should be a choice. Welding should be a choice, because those are practical skills. Those are usable skills that actually have a practical application. Wood shop, if you're going to make fucking furniture, oh, well, what if you're going to be a carpenter? Then you need to learn carpentry, not wood shop, because wood shop is not teaching you carpentry. It's teaching you a craftsman. It's teaching you a craftsman. You're not learning framing. You know, you're not learning anything relative to the housing market. And these educational changes shouldn't take decades. The fact that they take decades for something to switch, oh, well, it just wasn't a priority. Internet's been out for, let's just go 94. It'll be, that's 10, 20, 30. Are we coming up on 40 years? Why the fuck is it taking that long? I don't think that this perspective on what we're supposed to be teaching our kids and teaching ourselves is correct. And I think the education system's getting hammered, and I think it should get hammered. It's not the fault of teachers. It's the fault of the bureaucrats and the legislators who are making this stuff. And it's the fault of us for not putting pressure on them to do different things. You know, or enough pressure. Maybe people have been putting pressure on it, but it's certainly not enough. If those people out there doing that, that's fucking wonderful. Stay the course. And if there's teachers out there that are getting offended or upset about this, I'm not against you. One of my greatest mentors in my life has been an educator, a principal for longer than I've been alive, and one of the most respected people in my life. And she'd have my hide if I started bad mouthing teachers, which I'm not doing. There's curriculums that you all have to teach. There's what you would like to teach, and if you get to insert some of that in your day, it's probably a boon for you. You probably feel like you had a great day if you got to teach something you actually wanted to teach. And if God forbid, the kids actually learned what you were trying to show them, I think a lot of that does need to happen at home. But parents are working 3-4 jobs. People are not making ends meet, and that's the other part of the equation. One job for whatever reason isn't enough anymore, and that doesn't make any sense. We outsourced all the jobs, and I have theories about that. I think that Bush Sr. did that so that they could destabilize organized crime, because the labor unions were getting too powerful after they whacked Kennedy and Bobby Kennedy and whacked their civil rights leaders. That was way too much power for the mob to have. Jack Ruby and all that, and obviously Hoffa. That whole thing. The response to ship all of our labor overseas so that the unions didn't have as much power, and it worked. Union power went through the floor. Mob didn't go away, but they certainly didn't kill any other presidents. So that's it. It begs the question, at least in my mind, that worked. But now it's time to bring everything home, and then that's also going to beg the question: what do we do with organized crime? A lot of those guys are 70, 80 years old, and they're on their way out, and their kids are not in it. Some of them, their kids are in it, but it's never going to be what it was. And in that regard, Bush's plan worked. And when he talked about a new world order, I think that's what he was talking about, is the end of the mob. And I don't think he thought he would see it. I think he just laid the groundwork. And I think it's what Cheney has pitched at Trump about. Because there was a plan, and Trump wasn't sticking to the plan because he had his own plan. And I think it has nothing to do with what people think it is. And the reason that Cheney would be pissed is because him, Rumsfeld, and Bush Sr. came up with a plan. The Clintons were on board, and everybody wanted to play ball, even if, it wasn't with their guy. When they got that presidential briefing, everyone understood that, hey, this is what we were trying to do. And then, like I said, Trump didn't want to play ball, so they got mad at him. So that's a little bit of nonsense early, but I definitely think that logic boards, coding, that all that stuff should start in junior high. Kids need to be getting hands-on with technology, seeing what's inside, how it works. A 14-year-old should know how to build a computer because they were taught that at school. They should know how to take a PC and put it together. This is the motherboard. This is the RAM. This is the CPU. This is the graphics card. This is the big memory. This is how I'm putting my cooling system in. That should be a part of the curriculum. It should be a part of the curriculum in high school. They should know how to program. They should know how to build. And when they get to college, computer science, it really should be a no-brainer, almost a liberal arts degree. In terms of, it's like English. We know this already. We already know this. Everyone rolls their eyes at English. Well, you're going to be a writer? Oh, I'm just fucking around. There just should be different elements there. Okay, entertainment. So, our, sorry. You have to excuse the coughing. I do not have COVID. I do have bronchitis, though, so I'm COVID susceptible. I got tested for COVID a month ago, and probably due for another test just to see what's what. From my understanding of vaccines, you take the second round, not the first round, so we will be taking the vaccine, but we won't be taking it yet. I want to wait until a lot of people have taken it, and then the second or third batch is out, and then we'll take it. And just give them a chance to work out some of the fucked up bugs. Because I think there's going to be bugs. That's just, the polio vaccine wasn't rolled out this fast. This is based off of mRNA. Yeah, my gut tells me to wait. Take it, but wait. So, entertainment industry. This is what I do professionally. This last year, just before COVID hit, I got attached to a multi-million-dollar project as a co-executive producer. I've raised about $250,000 this year in funding for film projects, and will raise more at the beginning of next year right away. Once we get out away from the holidays, financing will start in earnest. My partner and I have been recruited. We have 3 or 4 features that we won't be co-executive producing on only. We will probably be producing or co-producing on, which is a step up. They are paid projects. There's only one that's on spec. It is going to be the biggest year for me financially in film. It's going to be the biggest year in terms of career upward mobility. And I am excited and humbled by that, but it's also terrifying because it can also not come true just as easily as it can come true, in that that's how life goes. Nothing is ever a sure thing, and I'm a firm believer in hard work and making things happen. Right now, let's see, I'm co-directing something, producing another thing. I'm co-EP on the big project, and then I'm going to co-produce / co-executive produce on a 4th project. So it's 4 big projects. I'm writing these things in my live stream so I can tell you about them. A suspense / horror, or it's more probably a thriller, called Lantern Man. It's my own creation. I write this project on live stream. You can come check it out. I do it on the Shark Punch live stream. I'm writing a Green Lantern movie. It's my fix to. It's how I think they should fix Green Lantern. It's based off of Jessica Cruz as the main character. I'm writing Lamentations, which is my response to George Orwell's 2084, and it's a cyberpunk piece. It's now my response to Cyberpunk 2077, Judas Priest. Oh, that game. And I write that on stream. I have a novel that I'm writing that I don't write on stream, but it is my passion. I've outlined 50 chapters and about 500 pages, and I'm actually filling in that outline, and I'm in the 3rd chapter somewhere. So, 47 chapters to go. That's taken me years to do, and it's a fantasy, it's a science fiction fantasy crossover. It's my epic. It's my ultimate fiction piece in terms of sci-fi and fantasy. All original characters, all straight from my brain. I started writing it when I was 12. The first short story I ever wrote was in 3rd grade, so I've been writing essentially my whole life. 5th is The Dark Hills. It's a feature about hillbilly culture, and it's a bunch of different things. It keeps evolving into one thing or another. It was a series at first, but now I think it's going to be a feature. Next one is Alien Praetorian, which is, I entered a film contest with some other friends, and this is me modifying that script to be a short film that is doable with our own finances, money, and stuff, and taking that pitch, essentially it was a pitch, and then fleshing that out into a short film and actually getting everything done and necessary to make a fan film. And then I'm consulting and helping out with another streamer's Ben Loris. Ben underscore Loris has a series called Redbox Blue Box, and I'm helping out with that show, doing some voiceover work and project ideas, writing, whatever. He was on my stream tonight, and I didn't really talk to him. I have been up to my ears in family stuff and am trying to catch up. Christmas is going to be kind of Christmas Eve is going to be a working holiday for me. I'm going to work my ass off tomorrow. And then my final project, number 8, is the working title's The Right Project. It is absolutely the feature I want to direct next year. That was going to be Lantern Man, but I think this Right Project will, it's going to put me on the map as a director, and it's going to make it so that when it's time to direct Lantern Man, I'll have the money to do it the way I want to do it. When it's time to direct Dark Hills, I'll be able to afford the cast that I want. You know, and it might go... The Right Project is not what it's really going to be called. It's going to be called something else. But The Right Project, it'll go that one, maybe The Dark Hills, and then Lantern Man. It'll probably be those 3 films. And then I probably will sell the Green Lantern Corps as just a script, and somebody else will do that, and I'll try to come on as a writer. Alien Praetorian will be my fun piece, a fun short that'll help me get funding for something. And then that will also lead to another project that I can't even talk about. I just got the friendly hat tip from Nintendo to create something based off of their IP. Alien Praetorian will hint at this. Lamentations, it's gonna be the last thing because it's gonna require so much money to make this that it'll take my whole resume of doing all of this other stuff to be able to get the financing for Lamentations, which is really a different title also. That's a working title for the short film, and I will take that and put that, I will sell that to Netflix or Amazon or somebody, and that show, the only way I'm going to sell it, and I'd like to sell it to HBO. If it could live anywhere, for me it would be HBO. That show, I want to do 12 seasons minimum. I don't want to do 6 seasons. I don't want to do 5 or 3 seasons. Like, I want the contract to be, we're going to make 12 seasons. And I'm going to have the right to renegotiate every season. And if you cancel it, I immediately get the rights and get to ship it out to somebody else. You can keep seasons run through whatever, but seasons blank through blank are mine if you cancel it before season 12. And all of these other projects have to go really well for me to make that demand. Who knows? Maybe I'll start my own streaming service before then. So that's kind of what's going on in entertainment in terms of what's in front of me. What I want to talk about today on today's show is producing versus writing and directing. I produce more than anything during COVID right now. And I started producing because somebody needed me to do it. My buddy Josh, who got me into film, needed help producing. And so they kind of threw me in the deep end and said, okay, we have you acting in a bunch of stuff, but you don't know how to do that and you don't know how to produce either, so why don't you just do both? Whatever. You didn't know how to act and you're doing it, why don't you do something else? And I said, okay. And so now that's what I'm doing. And I'm trying to do the best I can to make that happen. I'm trying to make as many things happen producing wise as possible and support people who have great ideas and produce for them. It is something that I like to do. But it's definitely work. It's definitely hard. It's definitely a lot of shenanigans. And I'll probably stay as a producer on every film that I direct, just because I want to hold the power in what I'm doing. I want to hold on to my rights and all that other stuff. It's definitely taught me what to be afraid of as a filmmaker. But writing and directing is not... I don't have to think about doing that. I want to do it. And when I do it, I'm happier. And I haven't been able to direct, since last year. And I want to direct, like every couple of weeks, I should be directing. Every month, a couple times a month. The only thing that seems to have that is the commercial game. And a buddy of mine, Jonathan, he directs commercials, and he just... It's rough for him. He's a brilliant director. I think he's going to do great things. I think we're going to see good things for him. Another director that I've gotten to know recently that I'll be hopefully producing for officially this next year is a guy named Carlos, who also directs a bunch of commercials. And you know, their frustrations are the same. They're good at what they do, but the goal is to not do that. You know, the commercial money is good. You can build a family on that. You can build a life out of commercial money, and it's consistent. Commercials are always running. COVID doesn't matter. This doesn't matter. Nothing matters. You know, the commercial industry is kind of it's not vulnerable to anything really. So that might be a path that shows up in the next couple of years. You know, I'm 41. I'll be 42 in August, and I don't, you know, I'm not stressed out about that really. I'm in a good spot in my career. I'm in a good spot in my life, and I know that stuff will come. I just don't. I don't know. I shouldn't complain about any of this. You know, I am living my dream, and just what part of my dream do I get to live? I mean, it's a little spoiled, I think, on my part. You know, to have everything that I've ever wanted and get to run with it is kind of amazing. You know, but producing is definitely, there's a satisfaction that comes from directing that I don't get from producing. There's a satisfaction I get from writing that I don't get from producing. However, there is a satisfaction that I get from producing that I don't get from writing and directing as much. Writing, directing gives me all of it, but there's certain things you do as a producer that you don't get to do as a writer or director necessarily. A lot of times if you're directing, you're also producing your own show, again, like I said, to keep the rights. But if you're producing someone else's content, you have to get your satisfaction in other ways. You have to get that. You have to love the projects. You really do. It's difficult to fight for a project that you just like. It's difficult to do things that are a good job, that are interesting. For me, it's a lot of this is about taking on jobs that are work. This sounds terrible to say, but I inherently don't want to work. I want to create. And it's one of the reasons that I do this show, is that I just at my heart am somebody who wants to create. I want to inspire people. I want to motivate people. And the business of getting things done is great, and I get satisfied from getting things done and helping people achieve their dreams. That's satisfying and fulfilling. It's not anywhere near the experience of writing or directing. It's not even close. Writing and directing for me is semi-spiritual. It's like a disembodiment almost. It's so hard to describe. It's like trying to explain sex to a virgin, or, you know, explaining a brand new color that no one's ever seen. It's how do you describe that? You know, it's one of those things that once I had written my first piece and my buddy Josh directed it, I'm sitting there at the monitor in the final scenes, tears dripping, you know, streaming down my face, and we worked our asses off on that show. And I knew at that point that that's what I wanted to do for the rest of my life, and I've been chasing it ever since. And it's telling that story, I get butterflies thinking about it. The only other thing that gives me butterflies like that is my girlfriend. That's how intense it is. It just is not. There's nothing like it. There's just nothing like it. When you have taken something inside your mind and made it become a reality, and people respond to it, and they get it, and it inspires them, that is all I've ever wanted in life, was to find something I loved that much, and I finally found it. And that was 16 years ago. And it's still not, you know, I haven't gone as fast as I wanted to go, and I, you know, should have had a different path. And there's all of these uh, shoulda, woulda, coulda stuff that, flies through my head, but it's bullshit. I'm very lucky to be doing what I'm doing and very grateful and happy. Uh, so, yeah, look at that. We're almost at an hour and we're to our last thing. Nonsense. So this is kind of the dump bucket for everything. We get to talk about whatever, whenever. Eventually, this will be comments, questions, whatever. Like I said, it's nonsense. It just this is our bullshit section. This episode, we're going to talk about Henry Cavill building his gaming PC, not watching The Mandalorian yet, and my fucking beard. So I've had a beautiful full beard most of COVID. And I went and got a beard trim yesterday, and the person that did it didn't quite speak the same language that I do, and I mean that literally. And I said I just wanted the sides trimmed a little bit where my sideburns were, and the dude shaved the entire beard down to my chin, so now it looks like this exaggerated goatee, where my mustache is there, the little soul patch under my lip is there, and then I have the regular beard is just a chunk coming off of my chin. I look like that character, when you ever see a characterization of the devil and he's got just the goatee that's really long. That's what I feel like I look like now, and I miss my giant beard. But it's facial hair and it grows back. A bald guy with a beard, there you go. I just am going to look like Tank Abbott for a month or something, and then the rest of it will grow back, and I'll have all of this awesome center growth to build off of. So I can't complain too much, but it is taking some getting used to. God, this light is just blowing me out. Let's try to make it darker, but white balance I wish I had. Yeah, now it's just harsh shadows all over the place. For some reason, the software in this configuration is not as good as Streamlabs. Streamlabs would compensate for this, and it wouldn't be this intense. So I got to figure that out, I guess. Fun with editing is going to be next. It's going to be soon. I'm editing my reel together and a bunch of other crap, and I'm going to have to now edit this. So I will be spending time live streaming Premiere Pro and banging my head against the keyboard. I have a backup keyboard too, just in case I smash this one. So that's going to be a reality. Henry Cavill building his gaming PC. There's a picture on my wall that you can't see. I'm looking at an autographed picture of Superman from the Man of Steel set, and then I'm looking at another picture at the rap party in Plano of me and Big H. And the guy rolls Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He has a Japanese Akita. He fucking plays World of Warcraft. He plays Overwatch. He loves Symmetra. Fuck. He's 6'2". He's also Geralt of Rivia. I mean, favorite actor of all time? Yeah, probably he's my number one fucking person right now. Just to work with him again in a boss capacity and show him this picture I was a production assistant on Man of Steel. And if I could show him the picture I have on my wall of him and I in the bar, we took a picture together, and he's got his arm around me, and we look like we're best mates going back to grade school. I mean, it's a fucking cheeky picture, and I'm really proud of him. If I could show him that picture and, have a laugh about it, but to work with him in an adult capacity where we're peers, and don't misunderstand it. Henry Cavill is a British Clark Kent. If Clark Kent was British, he'd be Henry Cavill. That with better eyesight. That's his personality in real life. He's a down-to-earth dude. He's a good person, from what I can tell. And my limited experience with him, he just was genuine and affable, easy to talk to, and compassionate to the people around him, and not. There wasn't a lot of fake horse shit, I don't think, in, a lot of the stuff that often shows up when you're dealing with celebrity. It wasn't there. And I'm really proud of that picture, and I'm proud of that time that I got to spend on that show. Um, okay, what else? Yeah, so his gaming PC, he has a card that is. Now, I thought I had the best damn card. And when I saw that he had a better card, because it's this really rare card, I got a little pissed. So I wanted to see what my fucking graphics card is. So let's do this on the show. NVIDIA control panel. Okay. I don't want to do anything to the card. I just want to look at it. Okay. I have GeForce RTX 280 Ti. It looks like that's what I have. Oh, system information. Here we go. It says I don't know what all of this means, but it's GDDR6, 11,264 megabytes, memory bandwidth 616 gigabytes, memory interface 352-bit. You know, boost clock is at 1635 megahertz. I feel like I have a pretty good fucking graphics card. And his is like this 3090 something super rare, which pisses me off. I now have to go get that graphics card, but there's a waiting list. That will go into my next PC because I'm not going to fuck with this one. This PC right now is my life. It is helping me accomplish every single thing that I have to do. And yeah, I'd fight somebody over this. It's just I have waited for years and years and years to have a computer that's this good. And I just don't, I don't have time to take it apart and fuck with it and get more of this and get more. That's just not happening until I can have another PC to roll off of, till we get a brother for this one. There's no way. Okay, I think that's it. And this is we're gonna do our episode 1 and we're gonna launch this sucker and it's gonna go up. And we're just gonna say this is the Christmas Day podcast. Merry Christmas. That'll be our birthday. Christmas Day. Or maybe Christmas Eve. I might do it tomorrow. I don't know. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day and stay safe. And I might do New Year's. New Year's could be cool. New Year's Eve, that would be our birthday. Ooh, I might do that. If I do New Year's, this can be our pilot episode, and I can have a bunch of episodes recorded by then. The inspiration comes in all sorts of ways. All right, you've been a wonderful audience. Hopefully, listeners, this gets longer. I know a lot of you listen to podcasts while you're doing other things and you want to have stuff going in the background. So when I launch, I'll try to have as many episodes as possible and I'll try to make them longer. Right now we got it an hour and that's pretty good for episode 1. All right, everybody. Thank you and have a great day, night, whatever it is.